Broadcasting live from beautiful 68-degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I'm your host, the shit show crew member, the grumpy old man. Oh, we're brought to you by this dickhead over here, Grumpy Vulture Productions. So, how are you doing, Coffe? I'm loving this weather. The only problem is it's going to frickin' rain the rest of the week. Typical Cleveland weather. I'm hoping it's going to be like this tomorrow because I want to put the battery in the shit box. I went up to the auto parts store and I got power steering fluid because it leaked out over the winter. I'll tell you what. Talk about frickin' sticker shock. Jesus. You know, I check my Gas Buddy app to find the gas prices around me. Now, here's one thing that really gets me. I got a BP station just down the street. Their regular price was $3.19. Here's how motorists get screwed. The BP station on 150th and I-71, $3.49 for 87 octane. 2 BP stations, but one gets to gouge the public for people that are like, whoa, I need gas. Now there's a... what the hell is that goddamn station? I can't think of the name of the stupid station. Because you got BP at one exit, and then you got whatever at the other exit. And they both gouge the public. Because 9 times out of 10, it's people coming off the freeway going, holy shit, I got to get gas. So, I go up to the BP, and I keep forgetting. The $3.19 price is for 87 octane regular. They don't publish any other frickin' price. All the sign says, you know, $3.19. Well, the fucking Passat runs on 93 or better. Premium. So I go up today to top off the tank before gas prices really get crazy. I hit the pump. Pump resets. I look down at the price. $4.33 a gallon for 93 octane. I almost shit myself. Now I know why they don't have the sign that says, you know, 87, 89, 93 octane, because nobody would buy it. That car is going to kill me. Thank God I filled the tank, and it'll last me a month, month and a half, depending how I drive. $4.33. Can you imagine if gas prices get around $5. 93 octane will be about $8. And then another thing that really gets me, and I argued with the city. What the hell's that department? Bureau of Weights and Measures. I've argued with several of the city departments. When they publish this, they'll have a big, $3.19, and then real tiny, it says cash. But if you pay with a credit card, that $3.19 will go to $3.49 or $3.59. And, I realize that merchants have to pay a fee for every credit card used. When you're socking somebody 30 to 40 cents a gallon, that fee might be $1. And look at the money that they are making. The city said, well, they're allowed to recoup their fees. Well, if I'm getting 10 gallons of gas, that's, $4. The fee isn't $4. The fee might be 85 cents. 95, maybe $1.05. Talk about robbery without a gun. I went up and I talked to Ryan and I said, what if I put in hotter spark plugs? Because spark plugs have heat ranges. You can get what they call a cold plug. You can get the plug that the manufacturer recommends, or they have hotter firing spark plugs. I said, can I use the cheaper gas? Nope, you'll just fuck up the engine. So I'm stuck using 93 goddamn octane gasoline in this thing. And another thing Ryan said, you don't drive a lot. You can't afford to screw that engine up using cheap gas. It would be different if you put a tank of 87 octane in, and then the next time you put 93 in again. No, I got to. So I vowed today that tank will never get below 3/4. When I use 1/4 of a tank, I'm filling it right back up, because that's the only way I can not get screwed at the gas pump. God, when that came up on the pump at 433, I almost pissed myself. Oh, she used the cheaper gas? Yeah, and Subaru's got that it's like a Volkswagen engine. It's horizontal. It fires from side to side. It don't fire up and down like a normal engine. They got that pancake engine. Yeah, but that's a tough lesson to learn, isn't it? And I have heard that Subaru engines are picky to begin with. They're very quirky engines. Because there's a young guy up the street that has the, what the hell is that? The Subaru. Oh, what the hell's the hopped up hot version? XRTI or something. Oh, I can't think of the model. As a matter of fact, I think they stopped making that model. It's the hot rod. It's the one you can tell because it has the big air vent on the hood, and they come with gold rims. Oh, I can't think of the model. But it's the racy one. He's got that one. It sounds mean. Oh man, does that engine sound mean? Although he does have some modifications on it. But I was talking to him, and because I noticed he had a new car. And I asked him, I says, what do you do with the other one? You know, because I was kind of interested in it because it's a little hot rod. And he said, oh, I fucked up the engine. And he did the same thing. It was getting too expensive to run on 93 octane, so he was using the cheap-ass gas and blew the motor. But I have heard from Subaru owners that those are very quirky engines, that pancake. Although, when they run right, they'll run forever. Because the police departments over in London use them. Oh God, what the hell is that? WRX. The WRX. That's the high performance, high horsepower hot rod. And they use them for pursuit vehicles on the what do they call them, carriageway over in England. But if you don't do everything you're supposed to, you'll pop a motor in a heartbeat. But I would love to have a WRX. Oh, God. That one the kids got up the street is mean. I can hear him coming home like 5 blocks away. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, well, that's why the guy got rid of it. Because he knew if he was honest, he wouldn't have got what he got on a trade-in. Or, you know what I mean. Yeah, Peter said, oh, I fucked up the engine. They went, well, we were going to give you 8,000. Now you're going to get 4. That's why I don't really trust used cars. Perfect example. Look at what I've got. Although I really can't complain. I mean, all right, I bought it for $200. I've got like 23 in it. I couldn't have bought that car for $2,500. No way. But I like to bitch about it anyway. Because I see what's selling on used car lots in older cars. Now, very few used car lots around here have a 30-year-old car, you know. But some of the junk and the prices that they get, sure. You know, the perfect example of those cars that I was looking at Pull Apart. I know why people got rid of them. Because they were too goddamn expensive to repair. Like that Kia Soul. They said that it's got a number 3 cylinder misfire and the engine shakes so bad that it vibrates the car. Well, you know why the owner got rid of it, because the dealer probably said, well, you need a new engine. And they look at the value of the car versus putting an engine in it, and we'll junk it. I mean, that Kia Soul is gorgeous. Not a scratch on it. But it's got a blown engine in it. And then, you know, you don't know what you're getting in a used engine. Because they just pull them out of junk cars. You're at a crapshoot when you buy a used engine, unless you hear it run. Now, there are a couple of junkyards around here that before they pull an engine, they will let you hear it run. But most junkyards, it's a crapshoot. You might buy an engine that's just as bad as the one you got. And then the labor, you know, it's not like back in the day, you know, back in the late 60s and the 70s when I was yanking motors in my backyard. You had a couple of wires and some hoses and some lines and drop a new one in. Not today. And when you buy a used engine, you got to get the computer out of the car that it came with. You can't just drop another engine in unless you send the computer out to get it reflashed. Yeah, people don't think that way. They say, okay, I need an engine. They pull an engine. And they put the engine in the car and it won't run. Did you get the computer with it? You got to have that ECM. That's actually what runs the engine. Tells the engine to start, tells the engine to idle. And some of these newer cars have 4 and 6 ECMs, which means you got to get all of them. I wouldn't own a brand new car. No way. That's why I pray that this Passat lasts me until they pat me in the face with a shovel, you know. Well, pop me in the toaster. After the mortuary college gets done carving me apart, then they'll pop me in the toaster. And I'll come home in a little box. A little urine. Oh, yeah, right. What prices are down? Not where I'm shopping. I have watched prices, and I pay close attention when I'm shopping. I have watched prices on certain items creep up 2 and 3 cents a month. Perfect example. I like Post grape nuts. In 6 months, a box went from $2.80 to $3.90 for the same fucking box of cereal. Right, TB. $100% right. The only thing that's down is jobs. I showed that picture of the that steak at what the hell was the name of that goddamn supermarket down in Florida? $49 a pound. I can't remember the name of the goddamn supermarket. I mean, in 6 months, I've seen the goddamn bag of cat food that I buy go up. In 6 months, it went up $1.10 for the same goddamn cat food. God, the other day I was going to buy a jar of goddamn mustard. It was almost $4. I was like, Jesus Christ. I remember buying that jar of mustard back in 1970 for 30 cents. Grocery prices are insane. It really, I can't even stand to watch any of his news conferences because I'm tired of hearing, oh, the economy is strong. Yeah, the economy is strong. Strong for the supplier and the corporation, not strong for the consumer. And now, he started this shit in the Middle East. You're already seeing gas prices go up. I was telling Kathy today, I paid $4.33 a gallon for 93 octane. I almost shit myself. Matter of fact, I think I did. Yeah, TV, I was reading an article earlier today. SAG and AFTRA are going to start suing all of these outfits that are making AI commercials because they're putting actors out of work. And you can tell an AI commercial, if you pay close attention, you can tell it's an AI-generated human. Yeah, the Screen Actors Guild is going crazy. Same thing with the movie producers doing everything green screen. Eliminating all those extras that they would be hiring. Yeah, because, God, who was it today? At Saudi Arabia or I can't remember who said they're going to stop oil production. And with and goddamn government, they've been fighting it for years. If they would let the United States build more refineries, we got oil up the ass in this country. There was an economist a couple years ago. He was saying if we stopped drilling, we have enough crude oil in underground storage tanks to last us 10 years. But you need refineries. And every time a goddamn hurricane comes through Texas, there goes the refinery. TV, it's like my uncle had, and we're talking back in the day, and this is how far it goes back. He had a 60-acre farm. And the last 3 years before he passed away, the government paid him not to grow anything. And they were doing that with hundreds of thousands of farmers, paying them not to grow. And that's why a lot of your farms just folded up. I feel sorry for the farmers today. There's the perfect example. There's a YouTuber called Laura Farms. And she was saying that they are over $1 million in debt. But they keep going. She keeps farming, Got to pay off them $500,000 combines. God, I remember back when my uncle bought his combine, it was like $2,000. Oh, I hate blueberries. Oh, I hate blueberries. Growing up, my mother, everything was blueberries. Blueberry this, blueberry that, blueberry. If she could make it with a blueberry, she made it. Oh, I don't even buy blueberry muffins when they're in the discount rack. But at least you've got farming going on up there. Yeah, well, oil might be down 25%. It wasn't down at my pump. I was bitching to Kathy earlier. You know, you look at the sign and it says gas, $3.19 a gallon. Well, that's for frickin' 87 octane. They don't publish the 89 and 93. I pull in to fill up. I hit the pump, $4.33 a gallon. And they were the cheapest. I should have driven down there to get gas. And I usually use Marathon because I get really good mileage out of Marathon. Marathon was at $4.59 because they actually put it on the sign. So I drove right past the Marathon, figuring BP was going to be cheaper. Shit, wasn't that much cheaper. But see, I can't use cheap gas. It says right in the manual, 93 octane or higher. Goddamn turbocharged engine. I love it when the turbo kicks in, but not when I have to go to the gas pump. Oh my God, she's got the car I want. That's the hot rod, the WRX SDI. That's the hot rod. I want that car. Yep, the WRX SDI. I want that car. Well, you know, if I wanted to pay like $8 a gallon, I could go out to the airport and buy avgas. That stuff's anywhere from 110 to 120 octane. But I don't feel like going out to the airport to buy gas. Plus, you can't pump it in your car. The only way they sell it to you is in gas cans. And I'm not going to stand there and pour a gas can into my car. And yeah, I could go to the auto parts store and buy octane booster, but I don't trust that shit either. I don't need to blow up my motor. But boy, I bet you that little four-cylinder would scream on 112 octane avgas. Although I should have my next-door neighbor bring me some. He's got a race car. He goes out and gets that shit all the time. Tell him, hey, bring me 5 gallons. Now, don't break my heart, Kathy, and tell me that that car's an automatic. Well, yeah, Oodles there, yeah. It's right by the drag strip. That's why they get guaranteed business. Because they know anybody that's got a dragster or a hot rod is going to be buying gas there. Oh, good. Because I'll tell you, I would love to get in that car and sidestep that clutch and do a burnout and then bang it through the gears. Those are hot cars. Like I say, they use them for pursuit cars over in England on the motorway. Because they refer to them as Scooby-Doos. The Subaru WRX STI, they call them Scooby-Doos. Because they actually have officers that fight to get into the traffic unit over there just to drive them things. Like I say, the kid up the street's got one. I think it's either a 23 or a 24. Mean sounding car. Of course, he's got a modified exhaust system on it. I can't remember what brand exhaust system he's got. Not to mention he played with the engine a little bit. But I can hear him 5 blocks away coming home at night. You know, my Passat is supposed to redline around 7,800 RPM. I'd be afraid to take it up that high. If it was new, although I love when that turbo kicks in. I can't wait to get it up on the freeway. I'll do that once I legally own it. But I'm running on borrowed luck. So I'm going to get the shitbox running, and when I have to go to the doctor, I'll drive that thing. Well, Oodles, when you get it out, send us some pictures. It sounds wonderful. It sounds like a toy I would love to have. Well, you know what? Just tinker with it a little bit. Like, take a couple hours on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you don't have to do it all at once. Not to mention with it sitting, you gotta. I would pull the plugs, put a little Marvel mystery oil down the cylinders, make sure that the piston rings are free. I'll tell you what, all your major mechanics recommend using Marvel mystery oil. It's one of the best items on earth. If you got a car that's been stored for, several years, pop the plugs, put a little in each cylinder, let it set for a couple days, leave the plugs out, crank the motor over, it'll blow all that shit out of the cylinders. You put the plugs back in, it'll smoke a little bit, then it'll clear up. Well, that'd be the safest thing to do. But I would almost guarantee he would do that. He'd pull all the spark plugs, put a little Marvel mystery oil down the cylinders, let it sit. Maybe after it sit for a couple days, look down each cylinder with a bore scope. Yeah, you don't want to screw that engine up. Because if I ever get that old Corvette, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Except I have to crawl underneath it to get the spark plugs out of the fucking motor. But I'll Marvel mystery oil it and let it set for a couple of days, maybe a week. Then I'll take a breaker bar and bar the engine over. Well, yeah, that's another thing. Although, maybe it would just take freeing up the calipers rather than having to do complete brake job. But whatever the mechanic suggests, that's what's got to be done. Christ, I was pricing used calipers for that old Corvette. Jesus Christ. Things must be made out of titanium. Because there's two things I'm a fanatic about. Well, three. Very, very carefully getting that engine to turn over, making sure that it's got a good clutch, and then it's got to have good brakes. And with a car that's been sitting for 7 years, it's going to need a lot of TLC. It ain't going to be something that I'm going to put a battery in and jump in and drive. I know that. Although everybody keeps telling me I'm fucking nuts for even thinking about buying that car. I just want it because I've never owned one. And nothing cooler than being my age, putting a hot rodder's hat on, dropping the top, and driving around in a red Corvette. Even if it does look like shit with delaminating paint. It's a Corvette, period. Who cares whether it's missing paint? I ain't going to paint it. Maybe rattle can or wrap it. I'll tell you what. If it's got lights, I'm going to like it. You'll have to email me some pictures. Once you get it out, and I would love to see them. Yeah, everybody's telling me I'm frickin' nuts for even thinking about that car. Like my neighbor said, look at the pig and the pokey that you got with the goddamn Passat. Although I got the thing almost perfect. But like he said, just triple the price of all the parts for the Corvette. I was thinking about wrapping it. I'll tell you what, the hood and the trunk on the Passat just look like utter shit with the delaminated paint. So I wrapped the hood and I wrapped the trunk, and it don't look too bad. So I figured I'll buy a bunch of red wrap and wrap the Corvette. And that way it'll hide all that missing paint. Because I'll tell you what, it's missing paint right down to the primer in several places. Yeah, I get what you mean, Oodles. Knowing that you could be sitting there in a lawn chair with a magazine and people drooling over that vehicle. You'll get there. Just takes a little time, little money. You'll get there. You'll be the guy sitting there. People going, oh, you got to come over here and look at this. Take some pictures. I would love to do that. I wish I had a collectible vehicle that I could go to a cruise in and sit there and just talk to people about, I love talking about cars. I would love to have an old Studebaker. A Studebaker Commander. Or a Studebaker Hawk. Either a silver hawk or a golden hawk. And people don't know the difference. The silver hawk has a high-performance V8. The golden hawk has a supercharged V8. I'd like to have either one. Just pull up, open the trunk, open the hood, roll down all the windows, sit there in a lawn chair with an umbrella over me, and have people just come up and talk to you about it. Indiana, right? The plant was in Indiana? I'm pretty sure the Studebaker plant was in Indiana. A friend of mine out in Scottsdale, she's got a Commander. And there's a guy that is a member of the Studebaker Club. And this guy went in after they closed the plant and bought everything. Every spare part. There were cars that were completed that hadn't been shipped. There were cars in various parts of assembly. He bought everything and put it in a warehouse. He's got cars that are basically a body sitting on a frame. He's got just frames with drivetrains, cars that are three-quarters assembled, cars that are fully assembled. If anybody needs a Studebaker part, that's where they get them. I'd like to have one because my grandfather had a Commander. A black and white one. With a gold stripe. And then the seats were black and white and gold. I remember that car. Then it got stolen. Either that or an old Studebaker pickup. Those are hard to find. They're very rare. I would love to have a Studebaker pickup truck. Of course, I'll never be able to afford one, but I'd love to have one. And my aunt had a Studebaker Lark. A white Studebaker Lark with a tan interior and a 3-speed on the column. A 3 on the tree. Then I had another aunt. She was really eccentric, Oodles. She had a Checker Marathon. because there was a checker dealer in Berea. And she bought it because the taxi companies all had checkers. And she went, if they're going to drive them and get 200,000 miles, I'm going to buy one. And she had a black one, a black checker Marathon. Everybody used to make fun of her. Here comes Auntie May with her taxi cab. The problem was, the reason that the checker plant closed was they were buying engines from like GM. They were buying transmissions from Chrysler. They were buying frames and rear ends from Ford, you know. The only thing they built was the body. But Auntie May had her black checker Marathon. Matter of fact, in high school, the assistant principal, Christ, he must have had like 8 kids. He bought a used checker aero bus from the airport. The thing had 8 doors. Four on each side. It was an air. They called it the aero bus. Everybody used to make fun of him because it took up 2 parking spaces in the parking lot. It was so long. I remember it was green and white. Everybody used to make fun of him. That was before the days of minivans. You had a big family, you bought a checker aero bus. God, I can't remember his name. I should. He was an asshole. Can't remember his name. I remember his aerobus, though. 8-door checker aerobus. With a big, huge luggage rack on the roof. That luggage rack looked like it carried steamer trunks. Well, Oodles, you find one in California. It's amazing how many VW buses are out in California. I was looking on Bring a Trailer, and it was amazing how many Volkswagen buses were on, or VWs in general, out in California. Of course, I'm not going to drag a trailer all the way out to California to bring a car home. Although I would love to have one. I had a VW Beetle. I painted it to look like a bumblebee. Had yellow fenders, black hood, black roof, black trunk. I was driving home one day and it caught fire on the freeway. I jumped out and took the license plates off it and just walked away and let it burn. Oh, you ain't going to get one cheap. No way. God, there was a VW microbus, the one with they said the one with 21 windows because it had the small windows in the roof and everything. There was one on Bring a Trailer. The guy wanted like $70,000 for it. But if you want a toy bad enough, you'll pay the price. I wish I had my old Renault Dauphine. I had a Renault Dauphine. It was so small you could drive it on the sidewalk. And it had suicide doors. That was the cool thing. Had a little tiny four-banger about the size of a shoebox. Although so did my MG midget. I remember one winter I took the engine out, carried it down in the basement, rebuilt it on the workbench, carried it back up in the spring, dropped it in the car. God, the motor was only about that big. That was a scary car to drive because what people didn't realize was the pedal box was right behind the front wheel. When you were sitting in that thing, your feet were out right behind the front wheel. Somebody nailed you in the front end. It'd take a fire rescue crew 2 hours to get you out of that thing. But it was fun to drive. It was like a little rolling casket. Cute little tiny car. I miss all the British cars. A friend of mine had a Morris Minor panel truck. Look that up sometime. Morris Minor. They were constructed, the framework was constructed out of wood with sheet metal screwed on it. That's why you don't find too many of them. They rotted away. It was a cute little thing, that goddamn Morris Minor. It was like the size of a VW Beetle, but it was a little, like a sedan delivery. I had one, Oodles. I had one. Used to sing a little song. You go, made of tin. Drive it out and push it in. I was driving along one day and the shifter come right out of the... Holy shit. Yeah, I went to shift gears and the shifter come right out of the floor. Yeah, it was a red one. Maroon. Was a maroon one. I bought it just for people to laugh at me. I picked it up as a joke. You go, made of tin. Drive it out and push it in. That's why people didn't realize, why it had a heated rear glass. It had the heated rear glass, the defroster. Well, the only reason it had that was it kept your hands warm when you were pushing it in the winter. Yeah, maroon Yugo with a tan interior. It didn't have a radio, it had nothing. But I remember going down the freeway, went to shift into fourth, a frickin' shifter come right up. Holy shit. Had to pull off the next exit, put the shifter back in, make sure I had the 4 gears. You couldn't drive that car 3 blocks without it breaking down. Well, like I say, I bought it for people to make fun of me. That was the only reason I bought it. I think I had it about a year. I got tired of fixing it. Really? She's got a 40s Packard as a daily driver? Oh my God. I bet you everybody wants to buy it. Although it goes to show you how well that Packard was built if you're still driving it today. I remember years ago, St. Rose's Church is on Detroit. And there was an old woman that had oh God, what the hell? It was a 60s vintage Rolls Royce. It belonged to her father, and then when he passed, she would drive that Rolls Royce every Sunday to church and park it right out front of the church. It was like a gunmetal gray. And everybody wanted to buy that car. But her father bought it brand new, had it shipped over from England. It was right-hand drive. And she would park that son of a bitch right out in front of the church. It was a beautiful car. Oh, my God. And it was the typical little old lady car. She drove it to church, she drove it to the grocery store, and that was it. She lived in, oh God, what the hell were those apartments in Lakewood? Oh God, I can't remember the name. It was the ritzy apartments. Because she parked it in the underground garage. Oh, I can't remember the name of them goddamn apartments. Because on the roof of the apartment was a gold crown. I can't remember the name of that apartment complex. You had to have money to live there. But I'm going to have to gargle it. Because you could see that gold crown at night for miles. Can't think of the name of it. But that's where she lived. Because they had an attendant that would wash and dry that goddamn thing every time she took it out. She'd come back, she'd have it washed and dried. Car was always spotless. But she only drove it to church and to Sapel's grocery on 117th. I'd like to see a picture of that Packard. That's when they built cars. The front fender on that Packard weighs more than a brand new goddamn Ford Escape. That's when they made cars of steel. I wonder if she's got wide white walls on it. Because them 40 Packards, they had big-ass white walls back in the day. Interesting color. That had to be a special order color from Packard because most of them were blue or green or black or white. That's a rare color. Although, like I say, that's a testament of how well they built cars back in the day. I wonder if it's got the V12 engine in it. Because Packard they had a 6, they had an 8, a V8. No, it was a straight 8. And then they had a V12. Big honking motor. That car's a tank. That car by itself weighs more than your F-150, Kathy. Those cars were built. But the problem was back in the day they got expensive and people couldn't afford them. Not to mention Packard was losing money left and right. You know, Kathy, you look at the frame on that Packard, and that frame is twice the thickness of the frame on your F-150. Packards were built like tanks. That's why she's still driving it. Not to mention, you know, it's had excellent maintenance to keep it going. I bet you that engine has never been apart. I bet you that's the original frickin' engine in that car. Like I say, Packard's back in the 40s. They were driven by very influential people. You know, your average blue-collar worker couldn't afford a big-ass Packard. So her family must come from some money. Because most people back in the day that owned Packards, they were chauffeur-driven. That car had more prestige than a Cadillac. I think the slogan, I might not be sure, I think the slogan for Packard was, "Ask the man that owns one." I might be wrong, but I think the advertising slogan was, "Ask the man that has one, that owns one." Of course, that would be very sexist today. It would be like, "Ask the person that owns one." Packards back in the day had more prestige than Lincolns. Packard be rolling down the street and everybody go, "Uh-oh, Mr. Landlord's coming." I remember the guy that owned the store up on the corner. Matter of fact, he built a store up on the corner, a little mom and pop store. He had a Packard Clipper convertible, flamingo pink and white with a black stripe, because everything was three-tone back in the day. Yeah, flamingo pink and white with a black stripe down the side. Talk about a gaudy looking car. He liked it. In the summer, he put the top down, cruise through the neighborhood. Dun, 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 dun. Everybody knew Old Man Frank. They'd see that flamingo pink and white Packard rolling down the road. Here comes Frank. Because he built that store like 1946, 47. And over the years, it's still Frank's Delicatessen. Nobody has ever changed the name. Even the new owner that has it now, Frank's. I had a lot of memories of hanging around that store. And the Indian store across the street used to be Michael's Square Deal Market. I even got them a picture of what it looked like back in the 50s. They've got it up by the cigarette rack. One day I must have spent 2 hours walking around that store going, well, this was the meat case, and over here was a big bandsaw. He would cut meat right in front of your eyes to order. And then I told him, he used to pay me a nickel. After school, I would come in and sweep the whole store, and he'd give me a nickel. And I was rich. Yep, every day after school. I'd walk in, the broom would be right there by the door. Sweep that whole store. Get done. Here's your nickel. Thank you. Sometimes I would take it out in candy. Instead of a nickel, Mr. Michael, can I have candy? Yeah, sure. What do you want? Here. You want a candy bar? Yeah, here. Oh, you want 2? Okay, here you go. You got a couple pennies left over. What do you want? Box of Red Hots. Okay, here you go. Little tiny bag. Then I'd have to hide it from my mother. You're going to ruin your appetite. Nope. I can eat the candy and eat dinner too. Well, not so much dinner because you can't cook for shit. Oh! I didn't mean that. Then behind her back I'd say, yeah, you can't cook for shit. The only woman I ever knew that burned boiling water. Oh, my mother was a lousy cook. Oh, Jesus. All the good food my grandmother would cook from scratch. How the hell he married a woman that couldn't cook? Surprised I grew up putting weight on. Here's dinner. Never mind, I'll eat the cardboard box out of the garbage can. It's got more flavor. Oh, she couldn't cook for shit. Oh, God. Oh, God. I remember that I'll give you a nickel for a pickle, but I can't remember. Maybe it was him. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, maybe it was him. God, I'll have to. There is a channel. Oh, God, what the hell is it? There is a channel that runs the old R Gang and the Little Rascals. Maybe I'll have to start watching it. I remember that saying, though. Oh, buckwheat. Maybe it was buckwheat. God, I remember the saying. I can't remember what the little kid said it. Oh, man. God, those are the days. The Little Rascals, our gang, the Bowery Boys. Of course, the Three Stooges. I'm glad that they're rerunning the Warner Brothers cartoons again. I love watching Wile E. Coyote try to kill the Roadrunner. I watched some the other morning. Dropping anvils, dropping bombs. Beep, beep. Oh, you and me both. I used to hate it if my mother didn't have the TV turned on. You had to wait for the tubes to warm up for the goddamn TV to come on. You'd miss like the first 3-4 minutes of the goddamn segment. Same thing, I used to run home at lunchtime to watch Captain Penny. Because Captain Penny was on at lunchtime. I still remember how he ended the program. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool Mom. That's how we ended every show. Then I'd look at my mother and go, I'll figure a way of fooling you. Don't worry about it. Yeah, watch Captain Penny at lunchtime and then come home and watch Our Gang or the Little Rascals after school. Those were the days. All in black and white. Every now and then I'll watch a black and white movie. Just to reminisce the way things used to be. I never had an engineer's hat. My mother wouldn't buy me one. I had the neckerchief. You know, he used to wear that bandana. But she'd never buy me the railroad engineer's hat. Good old Ron Penfound. His wife committed suicide. Oop, you're not allowed to say that. She bailed off a bridge. One of the bridges in the flats. Although she was about 3 sandwiches shy of a Happy Meal anyway. Yeah, they found her car parked. Yeah, it was big news. I can't remember which bridge she jumped off of, but she succeeded in doing what she wanted to do. Because he was off the air for a while. I can't remember who filled in for him. Yeah, I still remember that. It's amazing the things you remember and shit. I can't remember that goddamn Winton place. That's the apartment complex, Winton Place. It just came to me. I was going to say, I can remember shit from back when I was a little kid, and I can't remember the name of that apartment building. Yeah, Winton Place. It had a big crown on the roof, and it lit up at night. But I can't remember the name of the apartment complex on the other side. You had Winton Place, and then the one on the other side was for people that didn't have enough money to live in Winton Place. You had to drive through the gate. The security guard would make sure, you were allowed in there. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the restaurant. That's what made it so appealing for people that lived there. You would just come out of your apartment and down to the restaurant, have breakfast, lunch, dinner. And for the real affluent people, they signed their check, and then they would get billed at the end of the month. Yeah, that's where Winton Place was. Yeah, I had a friend that worked there. Well, his mother worked there. And she said the real affluent people, at the end of their meal, they would just sign the check. And then the restaurant would bill them monthly. I always wondered if they left a tip for the goddamn waitress. I'll just sign that check. Oh, yeah, here's a couple of bucks for you. But I can't remember the complex on the other side. Because if you couldn't afford to live in Winton Place, you lived on the other complex. I never ate there. I always wanted to. Just to say, oh, I ate at Winton Place. All right, Kathy, here's a little trivia. Do you remember the restaurant downtown that used to be called the Rusty Scupper? It was a maritime-themed restaurant called the Rusty Scupper. And then, of course, New York Spaghetti House. That was a big one downtown Cleveland for years. I remember when it closed. You don't remember the Rusty Scupper? How about the restaurant at top of the Erie View Tower called the Top of the Town? We ate there once. That was when my father got his promotion. We went to dinner at the Top of the Town. The restaurant took up the whole top of the Erie View Tower. You could look out over the city. We used to have some pretty high-end restaurants in Cleveland at one time. I can't remember the name of the restaurant down on Short Vincent, because all the TV people ate there. Oh, God, I can't remember the name of it. Right on Short Vincent. But at one time, Cleveland had a lot of high-end restaurants. I remember when oh, what the hell was that goddamn motel at 55th and the Shoreway? Oh, they had a restaurant up on the top floor. The Red Carriage or the Red Coach. I think it was called the Red Coach. It was at 55th and the Shoreway. It's something like that, Kathy. God, I can't think of that motel or hotel. Was at 55th and the Shoreway. And at the top floor was the Red Coach. I'm pretty sure it was called the Red Coach. We used to go there a lot. And then over the years, it declined and ended up full of hookers, and they ended up closing the place. I think they tore it down finally. Because the bartender made a hell of a Bloody Mary. I drank many of them there. Pretty sure it's called the Red Coach. But we had Top of the Town, and then I can't remember that restaurant down on Short Vincent. That was one of Goulardi's haunts there. Goulardi used to go there all the time. Because it wasn't that far from Channel 8. But all the TV personalities hung around Short Vincent. Now, what was the restaurant at 117th? I think it was 117th in Detroit. Cavoli's. Remember Cavoli's? That's where all the mobsters hung out. All right, Kathy, here's one. Remember Christie's? Down on 25th? You got to remember Christie's. It was famous for a certain personality. Stoppers, okay. But remember Christie's nightclub? You don't remember Christie's? That's the place Chandler Burns got blown up. He come out in the parking lot one night and put his key in the ignition and boom! And remember Danny Green? He got blown up too. But Chandler Burns got blown up in Christie's parking lot. Yeah, come out, got in his car. That's the last thing he remembers was turning that ignition key. That was another place the mobsters hung out, Christie's and Cavoli's. But Cavoli's was 117th in Detroit, I believe. Two of the mob hangouts. But good old Shonder Burns, boy, the mob got him. They were still finding pieces of him a week later. Cleveland used to be a big mob city back in the day. People don't realize that. Everybody thought, New York. Cleveland had just as many mobsters as New York back in the day. Oh, God, I can't remember the head of the Jewish mafia. Oh, man, what the hell was his name? People don't realize that we had a big Jewish mafia here in Cleveland. But until the goddamn government started cracking down, we had just as many mobsters here as goddamn New York City. But the night Shonder Burns got it, oh. The last thing he remembered was key in ignition and turn. That was it. Kaboom. And when Danny Green got blown up over on the east side, my cell phone's agent husband was the one that put the bomb in the car. I can't remember her last name. I was in there getting a cell phone, and I looked over at some mail she had on the desk. I saw her last name. I went, "Are you any related to so-and-so?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's my ex-husband." I was like, "Oh, shit, I ain't messing with you." Yeah, her husband blew up Danny Green. The days of the mob in Cleveland. Hey, you're late. You're 15 minutes late, buddy. The time change getting you? Yeah, just looking at me. Feed me. Time change got you, huh? Okay. I know it's dinner time. Feed me. Well, I'm being ordered to feed somebody. So I guess we'll call it a night here. All right, I'll feed you. Jesus. All right, peoples. It's been a fun night talking about the mob. We know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. So everybody, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we'll be back here at the usual time. See ya. Now my clicker don't want to work. Okay, take 2. See ya. Oh yeah, we got to do take 3. See ya the other way.